For as long as you and I have been around, Mercedes have made luxury cars, and the onslaught of luxury electric vehicles hasn't changed that. And this is the proof of it. This is an EQE AMG, which is quite a bit different to the standard EQE that starts from about €85,000, and by today's prices is still quite a bit cheaper than the upcoming E-Class. So what can this do? And is it deserving of the AMG badge? Let's have a little look and find out. And thank you to Mercedes South Dublin on Pottery Road, who have given me this gorgeous 4MATIC EQE 43 AMG to have a look at. There is a 55 AMG as well, which has bonkers performance, as this car is priced at about €128,000 with many extras, including Mercedes's Hyperscreen, which is worth over €12,000. For an extra £7,000, you can jump into the 55 version of the car, and you're jumping well up in the brake horsepower stakes for that honour. So let's start with the wheels. 21-inch AMG alloys, a beautiful sloping roofline. It's not quite 5 meters long, but it's not far off it. These handles pop out as you approach the car. You can just swipe them for the keyless part of it to lock also if needs be. Rear quarter of the car. It's a stunning design to some people, and others aren't quite sure. I promise you, in the flesh, you'd probably look at it twice or three times and say, yeah, that's a bit special. The nose is a little bit different to what people maybe are used to from Mercedes. So I do kind of appreciate where they're coming from. We're used to kind of a more shouldered look, a higher up shoulder position. This kind of just sweeps down into a bow design. No grille needed here, but you have got an amazing resolution camera just hidden at the bottom of the Mercedes badge, and a little AMG badge on the side here, just to let you know that this thing is a little bit special. Many different charging options with the EQE, including 14 hours to charge it to 100% at home on a wall box, and 20 to 80%. Pretty respectable, because this will do 173 kilowatt charging should you find the right speed. Not amazing speeds by today's standards, it has to be said. Charging port is accessed here, and pull out this extra part for your DC charging using a CCS charger, and you can get an optional 22 kilowatt on board, which if you're spending this money, I'd probably go for, because that means you can use just the smaller on-street chargers, and in an hour and a half, you'll really get from not very much to very usable while you're having lunch, going for a meeting, playing a round of golf. Speaking of 18 holes, will you get golf clubs in the back of this vehicle? It's a 430 litre boot, which is not huge. So depending on the size of your clubs, diagonally you may have to switch them to get in. A little bit of extra space below the floor as well to hide cables, and Mercedes give you plenty of bags to store your Type 2 and your granny charger as well. And yes, it is understandably electronically operated. What do you think of this boot spoiler though, and the strip across the back? AMG badge here, the red light strip across the back, and a little bit of aero cutouts here at the back of the diffuser on the car. But I personally love the back of it. I love the side profile, I love it straight on, just love how it slopes down. It's nice. There are a couple of occasions in the EQE AMG where design kind of takes precedence, and one of those aspects is the roof. Now, not necessarily in the back, because there's actually a good bit of space there with the glass roof, but actually your front passengers, and you can raise these seats down quite a bit, but if you want to fit your feet under them, you want to have them raised up. For me, I haven't had any problems, but I had a taller passenger in the car beside me, and your head just might touch off that glass roof at times. There is a shade that you can use for it as well. And I love the way it's split up by kind of a T-bar across the centre. Understandably, you get an armrest. There's no access to a ski hatch in this car, however, and your cups just pop out here in a kind of Mercedes slick cup holder way, as you'd expect. You get your own climate control on the back here. There is plenty of knee room and just overall space. There's holders for the back of the seats. You have heated seats in the back of this car for your rear passengers also. So all the toys come in the AMG version of the car, and it's quite dark and it's quite black, and these seats do have high shoulders on them, but there's still a sense of space. You're not cramped in the back. They've got the leg room in the rear pretty spot on, I think. Where you really start to feel the luxury, it's up front. So let's start with the hyperscreen. It's €12,000. You need someone in the passenger seat to be able to view it properly, because otherwise it's a bit of a distraction for drivers. But basically everything you can view in your center screen, you can also view there. Now, it's not to say that this center screen is small and your passenger will kind of struggle to see what track they could choose on Spotify, but you know, if you want to go there, a kind of a Dacia sized price car in a screen, you can. Now, the ambient lighting is beautiful. There's so many different colors. Now, some Mercedes customers might feel that this is quite blingy, like when you start up the motor with the start stop button, put your foot in the brake, it's all very quiet. You'll get a little vroom. Same when you lock the car. It's kind of like a Star Wars type thing. You'll notice AMG graphics loading up here on the bottom of the steering wheel for your different modes. You can have an individual mode. You can have the motor not particularly hyper, but you can have the sports setting for the suspension. You can adjust the dampers. You can tweak so much of this car pretty easily, actually. You just go into this and you can click performance. But you can also go, hey Mercedes,
how may I help you?
Play Radio Nova. And straight away it has worked. I just had the volume turned down because YouTube will probably try and sue me. I love the way it pulls the graphics from the artist that's being played at the radio at the time as well. Obviously, you've got integrated CarPlay. The climate menu is constantly there, even though it's behind a touch screen, so it's not a physical button, but you're never looking for it, if you understand what I mean. Then there's My Mercedes app, which is brilliant. So you just log into it. You can geo-lock the car in terms of where can it go, can it leave Dublin, where is the car, precondition the climate control, see when it's due for a service, see how much battery is in it. See, you can just control huge amounts from the app. There's 6...
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please?
Cancel. There's 6 USB-C charging ports in this car. I don't think I've ever seen 6. So there's 2 down here under the armrest. There's 2 in the back. There's 2 under here, which is where you have a little bit of extra space as well to store documents or maybe a laptop. And this is kind of wide enough that if you had one of the 13-inch laptops, you could probably work here remotely. More shortcut buttons here on the bottom to access your cameras, which are brilliant. There's a 360 display on it. You can check your surroundings. There's car wash mode. There's like, it's just absolutely everything. Upgraded sound system in this car. The blind is easily operated, and it opens forward and back at the same time. So kind of like a curtain in a house. It's the little kind of touches that are very nice. The ambient lighting extends to around the light cluster up here. It's a lovely place to sit. You've got air-cooled seats here, lovely angles and circles for the vents. The displays you can put into AMG mode, have your nav and the instrument display. You can just have a kind of a minimal look if you prefer. You've got paddles for the regen braking. You can have almost a kind of a one pedal setup, or just have it kind of nicely balanced between both. More storage here as well. More USB charging ports, cup holders, wireless charging down here. Good bit of space. You know, a lot of cars sometimes, especially with this kind of spine going down through the thing, it affects the overall space of the car, but there's actually plenty of it around you. And this steering wheel, which is kind of complicated sometimes. There's a haptic element to it, and you can click between different options when you're using this screen, and then there's another one for when you're using this screen. But it's okay, but it takes a bit of time to get used to. I love this. I mean, the GPS even has a reflection for water if you're driving near the sea. You know, little attention to detail that is just brilliant. Despite the width of the tires in this car and just the weight of it and everything else, it's still really quiet. If you're on a good road service, you got a tune on. Even with your windows down, the tire noise is minimal. So there's a great job has been done with the tires that have been matched with the car. It's lovely and composed and quiet and very, well behaved if you just want it to be that way. But as soon as you floor it, if you put it into Sport Plus mode and you get this fake engine sound and you just, whoa, you're just transported into the back of your seat. There's this surge of power, and all of a sudden everything that's in front of you is getting much, much closer, much, much quicker. But if you want the dampers to still feel hard, and you want, maybe the motor to react like it's in moderate mode, or there's even reduced mode if you want that, then you can tweak that with the different settings on it. So there's many, many different personalities to the car. And I think that's important in a high performance car, because there are times when it's just like, it's like a bowl of child. You're like, but you just calm down. You've had too much sugar, relax. And there are times when you want a high performance car to behave like that. Having said that, it is hard. You're not going to have an AMG that is always gentle over bumps and lumps in the road. It doesn't make you wince, but you are definitely aware you're on something a bit on the firm side when you meet the wrong road surface. Consumption wise, I'm at about 28 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I actually haven't been doing any sort of crazy driving in the car. It's been a lot of kind of just to the shops, collecting kids. Hasn't been too much dad time behind the wheel, if you know what I mean. So yeah, 28, that's probably as bad as it's going to get if you're just taking it easy, but I don't see how you're going to see anything in the teens. Probably not an issue. Just wanted to flag it. So when you turn off that engine sound, it's quite loud on Sport Plus. Probably, you can probably hear it there now. It actually sounds like an F1 race is happening like a few kilometers away, but they're going through a tunnel. That's maybe AMG have purposely done that with their Mercedes F1 heritage. Anyway, it's back into just classic, which is fine. It's absolutely fine. It's got serious road presence. You will feel people kind of looking at you like you're in a bit of a goldfish bowl at times. Hard to get away from that. Like the upgraded sound system of the car, that works well. Good all-round visibility. The glass, the kind of shoulders and the doors are at an okay height, especially in the back as well. You don't feel too claustrophobic, but good visibility all around. The frontal collision avoidance is quite sensitive. If it thinks you're even approaching a pedestrian, it will start violently tugging at your seatbelt to say, hey, cop on, and it might slam on the brakes for you. Similarly enough, if you're kind of a little bit close to another vehicle, even in the opposite direction of traffic, but the nose thinks you're getting a bit too close for comfort, it will do similar. And the first couple of times, scare the life out of you. It does have sensors in the dash to know if you're paying attention or not. If your vision is restricted by, or thinks your vision is restricted by, let's say, an arm being across the steering wheel, it'll tell you to readjust the steering wheel so you can see your instruments better. It's paying attention and making sure you are too. I just love the nav. Just the level of detail in it is cool. It seems to be able to tell you as well what chargers are free without having to go near an app on your phone. So you look at the screen and it's telling me that 3 of the 4 chargers down at the port are currently in use. So you can make the decision whether you just want to head on to the next place or, yeah, I'll risk it. I've driven the Porsche Taycan Turbo, not the S version of it, which is the turbo version is all you need. It kind of reminds you of that car in many ways, kind of on a par. This will be actually cheaper. It doesn't have a Porsche badge, but it's noticeably cheaper, and the performance for what you're actually going to be able to use in the real legal world, you're kind of splitting hairs. Handling wise, again, it's pretty sharp. It has that sports car dynamic that when you twist it, it's going with you. I'm not saying you don't feel the weight of it. It is a big, big, heavy car, but they've done a pretty good job, and that's in standard suspension mode. If you do tweak that into S Plus or just S, and you'll actually hear, when you park the car up, you'll hear this kind of tss from the suspension and the shocks readjusting when you've parked it up, which is kind of the first time I heard it, a child thought the car was about to explode. So that's kind of how loud it is. Biggest challenge for you in a car like this is just not wanting to have fun all the time, and sometimes traffic will kind of keep that in check for you anyway, and that's why I was saying earlier on in the video, it's great that it has at least a dual personality, because when you do get an open road and a chance for a little bit of enjoyment, it can do that, but then it's also well able to just do the usual stuff, ramps, speed cameras, which are just passed, traffic jam, you know, all those things that wreck your head. But at least you're sitting somewhere that looks as good as this, and is you know, a pretty luxurious place to sit. I think one of the best ways to look at the car is if you're someone who loves luxury and does want performance, but doesn't necessarily want to constantly sacrifice the luxury for the performance, then that's why you'd be looking at Mercedes versus Porsche, for example, because it's just a little bit more orientated in the Porsche, whereas in this, it's kind of like a really nice hotel that has a lovely penthouse suite upstairs, and should you wish to go crazy, you can. But also there's a very nice place downstairs to read your book as well. Oh, I've got a gap, I've got a gap. Whoa, Jesus. And the gap's closed again. And that's the frustration of a car like this. But look, there will be times when you get to have a little bit more fun. Oh, small roundabout, small gap. And we're stopping again. Rinse and repeat. Just some battery stats and details before I head off today. It's got a 90 kilowatt hour usable battery. It's 100 gross. For an extra €7,000, as I mentioned, €135,000, you can get the 55 AMG. Even that name is synonymous with so much. 55 AMG EQE version. There is a demo one, as far as I know, available in Mercedes South Dublin on Pottery Road. It's got a lot of toys on it. I think there's 30-something thousand euros worth of extras, but you're getting pure luxury, Mercedes badge, amazing performance. Like the 55 AMG version is bonkers. 620 brake horsepower, 920 Newton meters of torque. But this is still perfect, 476 and over 850 Newton meters of torque. So either vehicle is going to keep you happy in the performance stakes. Obviously nicer to have the 55. WLTP range of this car is 532. I think you'll see 450, just over 400. Obviously depends how you drive it. Similar figures, a little bit less on the 55. And if you take it easy on them, you'll get maybe 28 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. But as soon as you use the power, that's going to creep well into the 30s and beyond. But what a car. Turns so many heads, pure luxury. Handles exceptionally well for the weight of it, and it's just further proof that Mercedes are probably still king when it comes to luxury vehicles. Doesn't matter if there's a battery in it or not. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.